On the next episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes,
Good Boy Dave and I were up in northeastern PA. We happened to go to a place where the store owner told us about a dinner party that he had recently featuring some beer celebrating the band Rush. I mean, a Rush dinner party. How cool is that? Well, of course, we had to buy some and bring it back to share on the show.
The Rush beers from Henderson's Brewing Company we'll be tasting and discussing today are the Rush Canadian Golden Ale, Signals, a 2022 limited edition Belgian Golden Strong. Also from 2022, Moving Pictures, another Belgian Strong Ale. This one's a dark version. And finally, Xanabrew, a Belgian Strong Golden Ale. If we have time, we might have a bonus beer.
we'll be right back after this break. Brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everyone. Here we are for another Suds segment where you can choose your own beer or listen to the good old boys and gal. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Who writes this stuff?
Mm-hmm. It's like William Shakespeare. Oh, man. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, we're already banned somewhere.
Yep.
Well, anyways, I'm one of your hosts, good old Gal Julianna. Joining me at the table today is good old Boy Kendall.
I'm glad I chose to be here today. Exercised my free will.
No ding, no.
He gets a ding.
Okay. Good old Boy Carl, welcome back.
It's like time has stood still since we've last been together.
Oh, I love that. That's so ding.
You know, you're cheapening the ding. If everybody just gets a ding for everything they say.
But they're great.
I can't. I can't.
You should.
No.
Good old boy Paddington. I mean, Sparky. How are you?
I have elbow patches and I can't follow those two. That was awesome.
We are so proud, though. You look great.
Thank you.
He does.
Yes. As always.
It's good to have Sparky back.
And then there's good old boy Dave.
Yes.
My nipples are always hard.
It's true. I didn't have a Rush joke, so I just...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of Rush. So a couple months ago, good old boy Dave and I were up in northeastern PA.
It's all PA.
No, it's very divisive. Visiting family, and while we were there, as always, we shopped for beer, which we do every time. So we happened to go to a place where the store owner told us about a dinner party that he had recently featuring some beer celebrating the band Rush. I mean, a Rush dinner party. How cool is that? Well, of course, we had to buy some and bring it back to share on the show.
In 2021, after learning that Iron Maiden had started making their own beer, the guys in Rush decided they couldn't let those little British biatches be the only game in town. So Rush partnered with Henderson Brewing Company in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which I'm pretty sure is right down the road from Toronto. So Rush Canadian Golden Ale. Building off that success, Rush and Henderson's have expanded their collaboration to several new beers, including the ones we will be tasting today.
Oh, wow. Okay, good old boy Kendall, would you please give us today's lineup?
And don't rush through it. Just take your time.
You got it. The Rush beers from Henderson's Brewing Company we'll be tasting and discussing today are the Rush Canadian Golden Ale, Signals, a 2022 limited edition Belgian Golden Strong. Also from 2022, Moving Pictures, another Belgian Strong Ale. This one's a dark version. And finally, Xanabrew, a Belgian Strong Golden Ale. If we have time, we might have a bonus beer.
Xanabrew. I figured that would be one they would make with Olivia Newton-John. You know,
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
The Rush song came first.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yes. Okay, go to Boy Sparky. Why don't you give us the SUDS ratings? And please, go ahead. Go hardcore. Go strange brew.
Okay.
Go whatever you want. As Canadian as can be.
All right, you hosers. We'll be discussing and rating these beers in these SUDS ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. Oh, that sucks. Give me anything but a Labatt's. Was that a belch, you hoser? Ah, what a relief. I'm sorry about that. The dry cleaner got all the gravy stains out of my Canadian tuxedo. That's what I should have worn today, as a Canadian tuxedo. 4. Oh, body really should not make that sound, even after 4 servings of poutine. And 5. Listen to that hang time. Give me another Canada Dry and Rye.
Canadians make good rye whiskey, dude. Well, I don't know. You know? And I like Canada Dry. It's good.
At least you didn't have any references to Canadian bacon, because that's a sore subject.
Yeah.
It's not bacon. I don't know
It's
what
not.
that is.
It's not even.
It's not even
Canadian.
ham.
See, I go back to the days of Molson Triple X. That's my jam.
I want to hear about your dubious lifestyle choices.
Hey. Well, anyways. Okay. Well, let's get into it. So the first beer that we're going to go into is nice little can here. It is the Canadian Golden Ale. And it's a rye golden ale, 5.5% ABV, pours a gorgeous old gold color as opposed to a new gold color.
A tarnished gold.
Yeah.
I mean, gold is the new black.
It is.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
It smells weird.
It does smell weird.
Yeah.
It smells like homebrew. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you know what I mean, right? Like,
Yes.
yes. There's definitely
Smells familiar in that regard.
right. Like, it's
Sort of maybe marginal sanitary conditions or
I'm not picking up anything really off. It's just, I know what you're saying. Maybe like a fermentation character.
Yeah, it's got that like that sort of back end yeasty smell that I think oftentimes homebrew, you're talking about something that has not been filtered
Sure.
or pasteurized, so it's
True.
been moved from the fermenter directly to a bottle or directly to a keg. And so I think a lot of times you get that kind of yeasty characteristic. Also, if I didn't realize it was rye until you just said it, Juliana. So I think that rye carries a very specific aroma too, I think, on non-hop forward beers.
Yeah, and it's like heavy rye too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, really
and
getting
it stays.
on the palate. You get that spiciness. It just kind of lingers. Really,
Yeah.
it's light, but it's there.
And it just stays on your back palate for
Yep.
forever.
And this is 5.5.
5.5. Yeah.
Flows into the bitterness, nice piney bitterness, a little foresty.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it drinks well. I think it tastes good.
Yeah, I didn't think the smell lined up with the taste. I thought when I smelled it, I thought I'm not going to like this, and then I tasted it. I was like, oh yeah, all right, I get this. I like it.
Sure. Yeah, I could see myself cracking a few at like
What,
around Thunder Bay.
Kendall, what would you pair this with?
Ooh,
Don't
I
say
gotta think
poutine.
about that.
Don't say poutine.
Yeah.
Canadian bacon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Something that would pair well with the spice and the bitterness. And if I'm trying to stick Canadian, I'm really having a hard time finding it.
You can
Venison?
go. You can go south.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing some kind of a meat, like a grilled meat or something this would go well with. But yeah, venison, that would probably work.
Sausages.
As long as they're not too fatty, I think that might clash, but they could be good.
I mean, is Canada specifically known for their cuisine? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like more so Montreal than I mean,
they
like, or
did give us
Quebec
Maddie
than
Madison,
anything, yeah.
so like that's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Maddie Madison.
But he left, right?
No, yeah, I mean anybody would.
Sure.
I mean, why would you stay?
Yeah.
Sorry, Canada. Did we just get banned in Canada?
Probably.
Okay.
I thought we were already banned in
Banned
Canada.
once again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we
after
just
that-
got rebanned.
that
We're just
home-
reaffirming.
They were very
Yeah.
polite and were like, we're probably maybe kind of going to have to ban you if you do that again.
No, no, no,
Well,
no.
we got a lot
We
of
are polite. We are
seafood,
Canadians.
so I guess this could go with seafood too. I mean, this is probably an all-encompassing kind of beer, like with anything. You know what I mean?
I would watch what I said on the meat with some of the excess fattiness. Same thing with some seafood. It gets really oily. You get a really
Okay,
oily
fair.
seafood, that's going to really
Yeah.
go. But if,
Okay.
if you can find a nice mild seafood, yeah, I agree.
Sure.
That would work well.
It's probably a good hockey game beer, you know? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it,
hang out.
Yeah.
Juliana didn't do justice to the can. Just saying,
Yeah,
it's a nice
Juliana.
can. It is a beautiful can.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Why don't you describe it?
Yeah,
for us?
what do you got going on there?
Describe it.
Well, you tell me.
it's Starman. For those of you listening at home, it's Starman from the 2112 record. It's a golden can.
Very old.
With a big star and a naked man standing in front of it saying, "Oh no,
Naked butt.
don't land on me, star."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have assumed control.
Sure. Very good. Very
Wow. All right.
good. See, true Rush fan.
Just
Dude,
There
this
he
guy,
is.
he knows his
Yes.
stuff.
No, I mean it is a nice can. It's very tasteful, I guess. You know, like I've seen some rock cans that are just before. Anyways, okay, so what shall we rate the golden ale?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I'm with Kendall. I'm a 4-2.
We're gonna go with 4.
All right.
All right. Kendall, is it safe to say that you are a Rush fan?
Probably not as big as Carl, but I love the band. I've seen them live. I still, and Moving Pictures came out when I was 13 years old, so that's easily my favorite record. Even though I'd argue it, I probably have others that I enjoy just as much. But it's that impact of the time in my life when it hit. Can you imagine when Tom Sawyer comes on the radio when you're 13 and it's the first time you hear it? You're like, this is amazing.
Your mind is blown.
So
Yeah.
always loved that album. Like some of the newer stuff too, but I'm just a fan in general. Neil Peart was a motorcyclist, did some amazing adventure riding, and I'm just a big fan of that too.
I didn't know that.
And
Have you read his books, the Ghost Rider
I
books?
have not, but I've seen the motorcycle. It was on display at the Hall of Fame Motorcycle Hall of Fame in Ohio.
Wait, there's
So-
a motorcycle
Hall of Fame.
in
And
Ohio.
I don't know if
Wow.
his motorcycle is still there, but they had it featured at one time. It was cool.
Are
That is
all
pretty
of the halls of fame in Ohio except for baseball?
I have no idea.
No. The Boxing Hall of Fame is in Canastota, New York.
Oh,
Yes.
For what
So,
that's worth, all of you listening, get out there to Canastota,
Yeah.
precisely in the dead center of nowhere.
Big fan of the
All
guys.
right, we'll be back with more in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Today is a Rush tribute, if you will,
sure.
or Rush Day. I don't know.
Well, let's hurry up and get to it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
oh, fine. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking to Kendall about his, how do I want to say it? Like, what Rush means to him.
Yep.
Now, Carl, what does Rush mean to you?
I've got a lot to say on this matter.
I'm sure he does.
An
Please
entire
do.
segment.
So, well, I'm going to start with this. So, when my youngest two were in elementary school, we got involved in a carpool with some folks who lived around the corner. And their son is the same age as my youngest daughter. So they were kindergarten through fourth grade together. And so every morning I would drive over there and pick him up and then drive to school. And then they would drive the kids home, which worked out great. Like it's easier in the beer business for me. It's easier to do drop off and whatnot in the morning. I oftentimes have stuff going on in the afternoons. That's when people are out drinking.
Yeah.
So anyway, come to find out that both the parents grew up in Toronto.
Dun dun dun.
So
Nice.
I was like, oh, how cool. And of course, the first thing I say is, well, you must love Rush. This little snot had never heard Rush before.
What?
So I was like, are you like,
Really?
you are going to have to turn in your citizenship cards.
Yeah.
Both of you.
That's-
Like, you're not allowed to be
no.
Canadian.
It doesn't seem possible.
So every morning we would listen to Rush in the car. Nothing but Rush.
Yeah.
And we don't drive carpool with them anymore, and this has continued. So this has been going on for probably 7 years.
Oh,
All we listen to is Rush
That's
every
really
morning
cool.
on the way to school.
That's cool.
Nice.
So I probably, just by virtue of this, probably listen to more Rush than any other band that I listen to currently, just because every morning.
That's every day.
That's your default ride music.
Yes, exactly. We
Yeah.
did. I mean, and it's always shuffle. So, shuffles up YYZ.
okay.
Well, maybe
Okay,
I get
gotcha.
one track on the way in.
Okay.
But I'm thinking two or three Rush songs a day.
Yeah.
Is kind of
Nice.
my general
There
intake.
you go.
I think you
Okay.
mean YYZ.
Why is that? And so I've got this sort of long ongoing relationship with Rush that I've been able to involve my kids in as well, which is great. I think that they have grown to love them in the way that I do. And so I think that what really draws you in, at least what draws you in, is the music, but what keeps you is how quirky and strange they are. And the more you read about these three guys, Geddy and Alex Lifeson grew up together. They were, friends in elementary school, and are just these two like goofball guys. It's a very strange sense of humor, almost British in their approach to humor, very dry, and then you have this savant drummer Neil who comes in after the first record, and then they say, you know what? If we're never going to break up. Like, they were together for 40 years, these three guys, which is, genuinely sort of that era of music is gone. Like once the Stones hang it up, like
That's it.
that's it. Like,
Yeah.
That's never happening.
No.
Keith Richards will live forever.
He's
long
basically
after we're all
pickled
gone.
himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He's very well preserved.
Sparky, you do a lot of the carpool duty, right?
I do, man, and it's
said
sad
duty.
because duty. It's sad because we used to have a no cell phone policy, and we used to all everybody would submit their songs, and we build these playlists, and I'd sneak in my songs and get the dad music in there going on. But now it sucks. They're all on their earbuds looking into phones, and they're automatons.
Silence.
It's sad. They won't even let me listen to NPR. So I'm just like trying to start conversations. So how about the weekend, guys? Nobody? No takers? Okay. I'm going to shut up and drive you to school now. Goodbye. But I have a weird relationship with Rush because when I was in college, I lived with 3 percussion majors.
Oh, wow.
No way.
Yes. And I was a music major for a minute too. And 2 of them were really good. And they had a shrine to Neil Peart in our
As they
apartment.
Yeah,
should.
of course.
Yeah.
However, one of our roommates, Ryan, was basically the gimp of the group. Like, he was, I don't know if his parents had raised him in a shell or something like that, but, and he really had no, no cultural knowledge whatsoever. And so we were always just ruthlessly punishing him because Ryan, you idiot, how do you not know who Neil Peart is? You're a drummer. How can you have a drum set and not? And so it was just, we were constantly abusing him, but that was always one of my great joys was, just abusing Ryan for not knowing who Neil Peart was. And then, and then 10 years ago when Rock Band, you guys remember that whole music game setup thing? Dude, I had this huge setup, the wireless mics, guitars, $300 drum set, all this other stuff. And every nightly party, we'd have dinner parties, would always devolve into hours worth of Rock Band, which there was always somebody that would just rush all the time because it's a lot of fun to play. Pretend, not for real. But
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah, Neil was a beast. I mean, a beast. And his kit,
Good Lord.
oh my God.
It's
Sorry.
insane.
Sorry.
Right.
The Time Machine tour, I don't know how many of you saw that tour, but the kit was steampunk. It was beautiful. Sorry. Okay. Anyways, all right. I'll get to me later. Let's get into another beer, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's go to the Signals 2022 limited edition Belgian Strong Golden Ale. Only 11.9% ABV, in case you're wondering. So this was their third in their series of premium Belgian-inspired beers. Signals is the classic Belgian blonde with Riesling, must, and cold pressed apple.
Thank you.
That's what it is.
I was like, there's something. Is this going? Is
Thank
this
you for
turn?
saying that. Yeah.
You are so welcome.
Okay, thank you.
So it's giving you aromas of stone fruit, peach, maybe mild spices.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this release is all the more special for them at the brewery because the fire hydrant that adorns the album cover was manufactured almost a century ago, just 100 or so meters away from the brewery.
That's cool.
So there's that.
Meters. Freaking
I'm really glad that you said there was grape must in there because I was.
You were
I was
like, what is this?
I don't know if I want to talk about this, but yeah.
Yeah,
no.
I had the turnt thing like, well, some of that tastes like a Belgian golden.
Yeah,
Some of
that's-
it
Might have
does
started
not.
out as a Belgian.
Acetaldehyde.
Yeah, it was
happily.
getting the apple and even almost a little tartness, like not sour, but there's something
Tartness.
going on here. And that now it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And it's, well, it is, right? And it's interesting because when I first saw, okay, golden ale, let me get my head wrapped around, like, and then tasted it, I was like, whoa. Like, certainly this isn't like bad packaging or, and I was thinking, oh crap, maybe this is a bad beer, but no, it is not, even though it's
Doing
not
exactly
normal.
what it should be doing with those
If this was a
ingredients.
straight Belgian golden ale, then yes, it would be turned. But
It's very wine forward,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say.
For
And,
sure.
I mean, Getty's a big wine guy, big collector
Yes.
and
Yes, he
wine
is.
consumer. So that
Tracks.
really shouldn't surprise us, I guess.
Yeah.
I like this.
Well, yeah, I was picking up some raspberry. Weren't you? No.
Yeah, right?
yes.
Because Mike hates raspberries. But
Oh,
anyways.
I mean, who doesn't?
right.
I've been doing this January thing. I don't know if any of you are following along at home. I'm part of a little group of people, and we each kick in 3 bottles of gin, and we do dry January. So I try a different gin every day of the month during January.
Wow. Why weren't we a part of this?
We're taking applications for splinter cells now.
Okay.
But anyway, so the last night's gin, some of the botanicals were peach and raspberry, and it
Really?
was really not for me. Like, I'm a London dry guy.
I'm a London dry guy too.
That's-
Matter of fact, some of the American style stuff just really.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm open to trying, I'm interested to try different stuff. And this one was just really, it's very subtle in its application of raspberry, but I let the kids smell it before I taste it. Of course, I'm not letting the children drink it, but I'm like, hey, what do you smell when you smell
Sure,
this? And
sure.
Well, they need to grow up learning what good gin smells like.
yeah. And they were both like, this smells like raspberries. Is there like bubble gum or something in it? And I'm like, no. Anyway,
Sadly,
but
no.
yeah, I'm not a big raspberry
What
consumer
country
either.
did that come from?
I don't know. I'm gonna have
Okay.
to look it up.
Okay. Wow.
I think
That's-
it's Holland, I'm pretty sure it was Dutch.
Okay. Okay.
That's flashing me back to the gin episode where Mike made us taste 100 gins. Like, no, don't hold your heart. That was tough.
but it introduced me to Spanish gin.
That's true. That was
And
worth it. That was worth the
that's-
cost of admission right there.
Yes, that I'm like forever in love with Spanish gin now.
And there's so many great tapas style places now that are popping up around town that really kind of focus on that. So
I know, which is great.
I'm
And
here
now that
for
we
it.
can actually get some Spanish gin in town, like The Alchemist. Oh, so good, so good. Okay.
This
Anyways,
is not a gin show.
sorry.
Sorry.
Gin
Gin side-
Sorry.
Yeah.
On our latest
Side-
Sips episode.
Side quest.
Good old boy Dave, what do you think of the beer?
Well, now that I know what it is, I really like it. Yeah, it makes sense. A lot of the peach notes come out really well. So yeah, I can wrap my head around this beer a lot. 11.9%. Probably wouldn't drink a lot, but
Yeah, I can't feel my molars anymore.
Oh,
you don't need those.
you won't. Nah,
Yeah,
you don't
I
need
need
those.
those
That's, no.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, and this is a thinking man's beer, if you will, to go along with a thinking man's band. Like, I think it's really nice, if that makes any sense. What
Not
shall
a
we
working
rate
man's
this?
beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to rate it a 4.
Is that like a 5 in Canada?
Maybe.
What's the conversion rate there?
Yeah. Exchange rate. Yeah.
For
It might be
for suds rating,
like
yeah.
almost even right now.
How many loonies were each one of these cans?
Good old boy Dave, what is your exposure to?
Oh, I don't care for Rush. No, I'm just kidding. No. So we were talking about it earlier. Carl, it sounds like Carl and I kind of came in to Rush right about the same time. Roll the Bones was the only time I've actually seen them live, and that was one of the first albums that I really got into. Great show, great live band. Then I went back, and kind of listened to their older catalog and stuff. Their newer music before they, before Neil passed and then they kind of dissolved everything, I didn't really keep up with it. So I'm more like early catalog up into early 90s. It's where I kind of flow.
Yeah, it's funny. Unlike Iron Maiden, where Bruce left and then Bruce came back, and that segment of records where he had just come back, I'd kind of poo-pooed and then came back around to it and was like, all right, these records actually rip. Rush, I think their catalog gets dropped for me into buckets where it's 2 or 3 or 4 records that have a very similar feel, and then it's a change. And the change that happened after Echo, like Test for Echo, is sort of the beginning of the final bucket. It was Test for Echo, Snakes and Arrows, Clockwork Angels.
Yeah.
They're tuned down. They're just like we talked with Iron Maiden. It's a reflection of the time. So they're like a little. They feel heavier. The tuning is lower. Of course, Geddy can't hit a lot of that screamy, shrieky Led Zeppelin stuff that he was doing in the 70s. Then that kind of lost me a little bit too. Like I appreciate them for what they are, but I'm just a slut for a pop hook, and that era of that sort of after Permanent Waves, like you roll into Grace Under Pressure through Counterparts, has much more pop approachability, I think.
Like almost a mainstreamness in the scheme of things.
Well, I think like even like well-established bands, they still feel the pressure to follow kind of like what's going on, and that doesn't always really fit their strengths.
Plus, you have to change to stay relevant. I mean, 2 of my favorite bands, both from the early 80s, Metallica and U2. I mean, they've had so many different sounds. Metallica, not so much, but they've definitely gone through a few phases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Like when the Black Album came out, we all thought
that was so different.
The end had come. Yeah. Well, I mean, sell out. Sorry.
Well, and I think people want to evolve as artists too, to a degree, but
Not a lot of people can do that successfully too. I mean, there's a handful of groups that can really, stay relevant and make those transitions.
Yeah, and those are the bands that are still around.
they're like 40 years, or for the Stones, like what is it, 107 years they've been playing?
Yeah, since 1873.
Yeah. It's hard, and like the Stones actually have a pretty new song out now, and it's
New album. They did a whole new album.
We listened to that record, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Like, and they're wanting to be current, but I don't feel it.
Yeah. Just go back and play Street Fighting Man right now.
Yeah, and just be done with it. Anyways.
Sorry, I stopped passing the bottle around.
No, that's okay.
I pick up.
Okay, so the next beer that we are going to talk about is Moving Pictures, or Moving Pictures. It's a 2022 limited edition Belgian strong dark ale, allegedly.
So got any weird stuff in it that we should know about
don't
on
tell
the front
us.
end?
Just so we can have that first sip and be like, oh no. It's always in my brain. I'm always like, oh no, this was not what it was supposed to be.
You're funny. You're really funny. I like you.
Well, I think is this the one?
This is the least dark Belgian dark strong
I
I've
just
ever
was
seen.
gonna say, what is
That's
this?
what I'm looking at it, and I saw the bottle. We got the right bottle, and it tastes good.
It says it right. It says, I
can
think.
smell some.
It's good. It's
tastes
really good.
It just ain't very
but
dark.
It's not dark.
What's the ABV on this sucker?
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
14. Which is funny for, Belgian dark strong, I expect raisins, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Plum,
Candy sugar raisins.
Yep. I'm waiting for that special B. There's a specific malt that you would use in a Belgian dark strong called Special B that contributes that sort of raisiny candy sweetness and gives a nice dark color, which this beer is definitely darker in color than the last one, but I wouldn't call it dark. But it's interesting. I think water is such an important characteristic of beer, and when a lot of people say, oh, well, all of their, when they're talking about a specific brewery, all their stuff tastes the same or all their stuff tastes similar. Well, of course it does, because the water coming from that brewery, it's the same water in all those beers. So there's going to be a degree of consistency across somebody's brand because the primary ingredient in that is water.
So wait, this one's supposed to have the Riesling must in it too?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm trying to figure out on the notes here if this is with freeze-dried honeydew melon
What?
and Niagara Riesling juice.
When they dined on honeydew.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have questions.
Yeah, right.
I may have to investigate further.
Yeah, it's just not as dark as I was expecting it to be.
No, and you can't really tell because the bottle's pretty darn.
And this one tastes more like a straight Belgian ale.
For sure. I think
Yeah, there's nothing adjunct.
the fire hydrant
Yeah.
beer was much more
The
wine forward.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I get more Belgian character out of it.
I think those Canadians are trying to trick us.
Crafty Canadians.
Or maybe this is the Canadian version of a Belgian dark.
Shouldn't it say Belgian-style dark strong?
Well, we'll be back with more here in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Today is an episode that is an ode to Rush, essentially. And right before the break, we started talking about the Moving Pictures beer, which it's a 2022 limited edition beer. This came out about the time of the 40th anniversary of the record, Moving Pictures. And it says on here that this is a Canadian golden ale and not a dark.
Oh.
So,
All right, well, that makes sense.
so that would make more sense because before the break, we were talking about how this is not dark.
So is there another Moving Pictures beer that is a dark Belgian?
Did they do
style dark?
two versions?
I don't see that here.
Okay. Well, let's go on the assumption.
Yeah, because now I'm looking at the Rush website, which is talking about this beer that was released
Yeah.
in
Pinot
March
Noir.
of 2022. And they are saying that it is a 11.9% ABV strong ale with fruity notes of berries and grapes with a spice and floral bouquet to round it out. Also, aromas of maple syrup add complexity while tannins help balance out the sweetness.
Why do the Canadians have to put maple syrup in everything?
Everything.
Because that is their version of butter.
When those,
They actually have that instead of blood. If
those
you
just
cut a
everywhere.
Canadian, I have.
those boys
There's a
get,
little bit of maple syrup that leaks out before the blood.
when
It's
those
true.
boys get the syrup in them, they get all antsy
Yeah.
in the pantsy.
Well, I don't get any.
I don't get any maple syrup in this.
I don't get any
It's
maple.
yeah, it's to me this is not as good as the last one.
Yeah.
Good flavors. It's a good beer. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I would definitely drink more than one, but
I guess in the context of a Canadian golden ale, 12% beer, not bad.
Yeah, and again,
Now, now that we're not expecting it to be dark.
Yeah.
right. And I think it's held up well too, right? As a beer that came out in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for 2 years, yeah. But isn't it safe to say that a lot of Belgian style beers can last a bit
I mean,
Yeah, enough booze. Everything sticks around for a second.
yeah, like your natural preservatives in beer are hop oil and alcohol. So typically the Belgian stuff, you wouldn't expect them to be super hoppy. But if they're super strong, that also helps.
Oh, maybe all the maple syrup fermented out in the bottle. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
So this is really interesting. So at the Black Abbey tap room, periodically we bring in guest taps, and given our like direction of European influenced American craft, when we bring in a guest tap, I sort of, we try to draw a line in the sand and say, we really want this to be some sort of Euro beer, right? And I feel like that's important. And so we brought in Unibrew's 30th anniversary stout, which was brewed with maple syrup.
Of
And
course.
when we first tapped it, like standard US coupler, tapped it, pulled it through the line, went to pour the first pint, and it just spat at an extremely high velocity.
Oh, wow.
Because it had
Like
refirmed
it was
in the keg.
dying to get out
I
because
think
of the
it had-
re-fermentation.
Yeah, because there was so much maple syrup in it.
Wow.
I'm guessing that it wasn't pasteurized, right? Maybe
Sure,
it was, but
sure.
but we thought it was really. We're like, what is this? This is what, are we not? Do we not have our pressure set right on the draft system? What's going on? And then we gassed it off a little bit, and then it poured great. And I think a lot of times when you start playing with these raw sugars, especially in the unfiltered stuff,
Yeah. I
you
mean, it's
can
kind of
get
a
a little
crapshoot.
re-fermentation.
Or exploding cans.
Or exploding cans.
The
Ooh,
best.
Boy, I
Oh.
you go to the store and you see some of those cans that are kind of misshapen and kind of bulging out. Like,
I used
that's not
to
cool.
like go through the warehouse and just see, like stuff that like there's nothing like that. Like we like have an entire pallet of cans start to like all like go, you're just sitting there like, what's the next one that's gonna go? Let's find out. Yeah. Sounds a good time.
So what do we want to rate the I already forgot what it's called. So moving things.
Pictures,
Sure,
moving
pictures.
pictures.
Yeah,
Pictures.
Yeah.
We're going to rate it a 3.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I get a picture of moving pictures?
Next time, more syrup, people.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Xanabrew.
No, it's yours.
Oh, okay.
High marks for the pun.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Belgian-style ale and 10.5% ABV.
I'm sorry, I cannot get that Olivia Newton-John song out of my head now.
But this thing is very pale.
Yeah.
And by comparison, the last one was much darker. This is a very, very light, almost looks like a Pilsner for a Belgian ale. Is it a Belgian strong ale? Belgian golden?
It says Belgian-style ale.
Okay.
That's all they're going to give us.
All we're going
It
to get.
looks great.
Yeah.
It's-
And
it
on the
actually
back of this, it's
like
Kubla
this a
Khan
lot.
standing at the bar in the Pleasure Dome.
Wait, what?
Yeah, said to his followers, geez, after all that pillaging and stuff, I could use a nice cold one, eh? It would be great if one day beer geniuses invented a delicious Belgian-style brew we could have on tap. It only took 807 years for Kubla Khan's dream to come true.
All right.
Like I
Well,
said,
there you go.
Yeah,
what a bunch
let's.
of quirky, weird dudes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, while we taste this,
I like it,
Juliana,
though.
why don't you tell us about how you first exposed yourself to Rush? Or, I mean, well, first exposed
Ha! Funny. Okay. Well, I'm kind of late to the game because, granted, growing up, you would hear some Rush songs, and I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. But I really wasn't exposed to it till I moved to Buffalo in '95, and Counterparts was the first record that I actually like listened to and was drawn into, and then I subsequently like went and found the back catalog and started listening to that, and then going to shows because like back in the day, it was easy to cross the border and you could see Rush play in Canada all the time. And it was, so easy. Like you just get on the QEW, drive for 10 minutes and you're there in Toronto.
Toronto? Is that near Toronto?
It's a suburb of.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Makes
burb.
sense.
Yes, it's a burb. Yeah. So if I wasn't like seeing musicals there, I'd be seeing Rush. And I fell in love with them because I was also getting into prog rock at the time. Stop it. And there were similarities. And then I listened to Hemispheres, and to this day, it's still my favorite record.
4 songs, each one of them's like an hour and a half.
It's okay. It's okay. But this is what records were like back then. Like now
When
you
everybody
have
smoked
a
pot.
single, and you get a bunch of singles that are like sort of like, puked onto a record. And that's the end of it.
Is that how they're made now?
Yes.
No, but
actually,
it feels that way. There were themes. There was a lot of thought that went into the A side and the B side of a record and all of that. And I just really appreciate them and have always loved them. And I haven't seen them as many times as Iron Maiden, but but still they're up there in my top 10 bands of all time.
I guess I never thought of Rush as prog rock because I don't remember any of the albums where someone was banging trash can lids together or any old British ladies screaming at the top of their
Wait,
lungs.
you're not sticking the dagger into the left side of my
They're
heart.
more of a
Just
working man's band.
Yeah,
They are.
see?
They are. Yeah.
Modern day warriors. Yeah. Fine.
Fair. That's. I mean, they are modern day warriors. Good for them.
Yeah, they are. But they are, and they're a thinking man's blue collar band, if you will, if that makes any sense. And for 3 band members to make such a sound, that's really impressive. And as a pseudo bass player myself, Geddy Lee can just do no freaking wrong.
I heard
You
that.
know?
I don't know if it's true, but Gene Simmons claims he taught Geddy Lee how to play bass.
That's ridiculous. Gene Simmons should teach himself how to play bass.
Okay, Gene Simmons should just teach himself to play
well,
any instrument.
It is really funny that you bring up Gene Simmons because I was actually about to bring up Gene Simmons.
Oh.
So wow.
Do tell us about Gene Simmons.
Well, they if you haven't seen the Rush biopic, Time Stands Still, you should see it because it documents the final tour, their last tour. And in the beginning of that, for the last couple of records, Rush was on Rounder Records, which is based here in Nashville. And so the guy who did our website for a while and does Yazoo's website and whatever, also worked at Rounder. And so he really got to know those guys.
Oh.
And so in the
I'd love to
beginning of
talk
that
to him.
Time Stand Still biopic, there's a bunch of different interviews, one of them with Gene Simmons, talking about the early days of Rush and they were on tour with Kiss and some of
which is so bizarre. But
how all that
Yeah, that's
right, so strange. And
Yeah.
it was during that time when they were all wearing bathrobes and that pre 2112 era where it was just really trippy and sci-fi prog rock. One time the guys in Kiss they stapled slippers to the floor on the stage in front of their microphones, in front of Alex and Geddy's microphones, so that because they would come out in these ridiculous kimono robes and they were like, "Oh, you forgot your slippers," and they just stapled them to the floor. But Gene Simmons, one of the things that he said was like the first show that they did with Kiss, he said, I come out and I see what this drum kit, this Yahoo's got set up out here and all these toms and gongs and cymbals. And he's like, this is ridiculous. This guy's over the top. And then within the first 3 minutes of the first song, he's literally touched every item on the drum set. And he was like, oh, well, all right.
yeah.
he's kind of legit.
I
Guess he does need all this.
Yeah, I guess he's here for all this stuff. And if you haven't seen Time Stand Still, I would highly recommend it because it was a fascinating view into Rush at the end, right? How they were how the guys got along together, how they did or didn't want to go on the road anymore. It was a really interesting take. I went with my son who was, he must have been 12 maybe at the time when we went and saw that movie. And it was right at the beginning of his interest in Rush. And then almost immediately afterwards, Neil died. And so it was like his interest in the band was just beginning, and then he would never get to see them. And then, but for me, of course, it's like at the end, right? Because I had seen them multiple times and had known and loved them for a long time, and so it was a really weird space for me to be in, watching that movie with him. And he and I still talk about it years and years later. So if you have the chance to watch that film, I think you really should.
No, good call. Good call.
Will do.
Yeah, I mean they're still such an amazing band. And now Geddy Lee has this little mini series going on.
Yeah, our bass player's human too. Like it's on Amazon. I don't know if you guys watched it yet.
Weird
great.
that is the name of it, because I've always felt that Geddy Lee is an alien. There's no way that man. There's no way he's human. The way
looks like
he
a
can
bird.
play a bass the way he does and sing in that range.
Yeah.
he's not fully human.
Of this earth.
Well, but the guy from Primus is his brother then. Because
he's definitely an alien.
what's his
Les Claypool.
Yes, Les.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an episode with Les and
Geddy
it's
together.
amazing. It's like it's just perfect. But
I feel the same way about Primus that I feel about sour beer. I had respect for it.
really? No,
Not
not
for
your
me.
jam. Okay. God, Jerry was a race car driver?
Bah.
Sorry. Okay. So what do you guys think of this beer?
Xanabrew.
I finished mine a while ago. I was kind of nice to not see any adjuncts or anything. It was just like straight to the point. Nice clean finish, a little bit of grain at the end. Yeah.
This is the most Belgian of the Belgian
Yes.
ales we've had.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got that Belgian character you think
Just
you're going
enough
to
of
get.
it, yeah.
But it's almost subtle, but it's a really well drinking beer.
Yeah.
This is my favorite of all of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because this is like truest to style, if you will.
Straight
yeah,
to the point.
I'm really
I think they
digging
keep
this.
making this one too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be.
It's
out
hard to
there.
make a Belgian beer this good. They can go sideways
even
quick.
for Belgians. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Whatever.
we are going to rate the Xanabrew, which I believe is the most recent release anyways.
Yeah.
A 5. Yeah, I'd like to pick up some more of this. Okay, so it looks like we may have
got a little extra time.
Yeah, we do. So let's get into a bonus beer.
A bonus beer from another power trio fronted by a singing bass player who coincidentally are no longer together. So
Yeah, which is
sadly.
no longer alive.
Also true.
Fair.
somewhat. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Kendall. Thanks for bringing it down, man.
Man, I miss Lemmy.
So, for those of you that are just now listening, we are talking about Motörhead's Iron Fist. It's a loud and hazy India Pale Ale, 6% ABV, and it is brewed by Lift Bridge Brewery in Stillwater,
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah. So again, 2022 is the 40th anniversary of Iron Fist, which was released in '82. God, I'm getting old.
Wow.
It is Motörhead's 5th studio album and the last to feature the 3 amigos of Lemmy and Phil and Fast Eddie Clark. So, okay, quick thoughts about this.
It's a hazy IPA. You're getting what you think you're going to get. Seems pretty well made. I would drink too.
I mean, it's solid, right?
Yeah,
Like for what
this-
it is, it's not too fussy.
Makes me want to play video poker and drink Jack Daniels.
That's freaking awesome.
So
Sparky,
perfect.
how about you?
It checks the box.
All right,
right,
we're going to
Suds
rate
rating.
it a 3. And that is going to do it for today. This was a really cool episode. At least I think so. Well, thanks everyone for being here for a Rush tribute. Good old boy Kendall, thank you so much for being here.
It was a pleasure.
Please tell us about your blog.
You can find me and my wife at bm3.beer. Check out what we did last year when we hit every brewery in the state of Tennessee.
Woohoo. Good old boy Carl, thanks so much for being here today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And how can we find you on socials?
You can reach me on Instagram is the best way at Black Abbey Carl.
Perfect. Good old boy Sparky.
Thank you for helping me to fulfill the terms of my work release program, as always.
We are here to help you, Paddington. Good old boy Dave.
Bye.
This is good old gal Julianna. Keep on chuggling and catch you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us online, do yourself a favor and tap
Tap it in.
the subscribe button.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
The easiest way to listen to our show is to ask Siri, Alexa, Google, Uncle Larry, or whoever it is that talks to you on your phone. Play podcast Sip Suds and Smokes. We love your feedback, and you can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram with our handle @SipSudsAndSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands,
Millions and millions
of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor. Take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Come back, join us for another episode, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.